Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your sensei, Owl Bob. Here it is, Palm Sunday, when Jesus walked. So, usually Sunday, it's Palm Sunday. It's a day I go to church, and I look forward to it. It's, at least 4 weeks before Easter. That is Lent or Ramadan or whatever holiday you celebrate to identify with sacrifice, right? And sacrifice is the appreciation of things that normally you can't do. Right? So I've basically, since I had that operation on my eyes, my eyes are actually worse off than they were before I got the operation, right? But I can still see. And so this morning I woke up. It was like 80 degrees outside. It was about 28 inside the man cave, but underneath my sleeping pallet, I was nice and toasty. I pulled out a whatchamacallit, one of those things, an eiderdown, right? A quilt, right? And I took my funky sleeping bags that I haven't really washed in about a year, and I kind of bagged them up to be washed. And the quilt is really, really big. It kind of is bigger than two of my sleeping bags zipped back together. So I had that, and then I had my electric blanket over that, and then I had my nice, the cleanest of my sleeping bags on top of that. So, boy, I was toasty. And I had I am a herbalist, so I have severe arthritis. I have, Charcot legs and feet, um, and all of my joints, 50 years before battery powered tools, all of these guys are really hurt. And so when I wake up in the morning, everything is screaming pain. I can't move anything, right? I'm like frozen, like an amber. And so I couldn't see. And I woke up to not being able to breathe. I was, because I live down in the holler, and it's like the barometer, like when the weather, the lows change, when those fronts move through, it actually makes the cloud inside of the man cave. And so it was one of those mornings where everything was at its lowest common denominator. And, because spring ahead, and plus the sun is on the other side of the mountain from me, it's just like this. See, you can barely see me, but when the sun is there, yeah, it's like, it's kind of what it is. And so I woke up and I had no idea what time it was. And I just started to meditate, and bang, I went to sleep. And I had a really interesting dream about humanity. And so I'm writing um, my newest, my sixth novel. Or I already have 18, but I'm going along. I got five of them in manuscript form, meaning pretty much 90% written. They need an editing, that's for sure. But I need a special editor because somebody like, I'm really good at editing. Somebody like that. Well, you misspelled this word. Well, because they have no idea of biblical liturgy. My misspellings are like Hebrew, and there is a little, um, you know, what do you call it? Spoiler in every word I write. It's all a code, right? And so when people try to, measure what I write by grammar and spelling, grammar is, not supposed to be used as a yardstick of what your writing means or its value. It's literature, and spelling is a spell. Most people don't realize that every frigging word is a spell. It's a sitchin, right? So I kind of do jujitsu on all of that, right? And like instead of using TO, I just use the number two. To this day, and all through the stuff I do that, and then sometimes I don't, right? And then I use the wrong two, like TOO, right? So anyway, I can't, I got to give it to someone who's literary, and I have, I've been involved in the publishing world and poetry. And, my roommate, uh, what's his name? Not John the Baptist, but not John Birmingham, but Adam. No, I can't believe I can't. I always forget this guy's name. Ginsberg, Allen Ginsberg, right? Allen Ginsberg. So, you know, I kind of write, you take James Boyce, put him on acid, add Allen Ginsberg and Mark Twain and what's his name? Mr. Christmas Carol himself, Charlie Boy. Anyway, you put and Mary, you can't forget Mary Shelley. And all the other girls who've been writing things, before the Bible. And that's kind of my literature, right? That's what my stuff looks like. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I is he. I am this guy right here. No, this guy right here. Now, this guy right here, your griot, here to tell you a story. So yesterday, we were talking about heroes, and I forgot to finish the story. So you guys are going to have to remind me what the story was about, because, yes, let's hear it. Let's see. So, So I'm having a little heart surgery on, not really surgery, stress test, and then echocardiogram and all that kind of stuff. Later on this week, and I have a few other things. So, up until mid-April, I'll be seeing doctors, but then I'll be pretty, won't have to do anything until September-ish, or unless I die, And this morning, it definitely felt like that. So, I just kept, oh, it's warm down here, and I kept, kind of, I couldn't see my thermometer. I couldn't see anything. And I said, well, that's never a good sign. Because you get up, and I got so much stuff all over the place in the man cave. If I can't quite see it, I could trip over it and then fall down and break my neck and whatever. So I was just using that as the excuse to stay in bed. And yesterday I did, I went to church with the stand-up comedian, and we cleaned it. I cleaned toilets and emptied the garbage pails and vacuumed everything and collected all the soda bottles people left all over the church and their McDonald's wrappers and stuff like that. And so, we talked about, um, this time of year. And that's, yesterday when I was thinking about heroes, the real hero I was thinking about was Jesus Christ, right? And I get not what's the right word? Not upset. I'm past getting upset, right? With the world in its shape it is, I'm past getting upset because I've seen, I was a photojournalist, and I went and shot the Olympics in '84. And then I went back, not during the war, but after, and found half the people. So how I take, as a photojournalist, how I take pictures of a scene. It's not like I rush. I knew Ouija, so and I learned certain tricks from Ouija, like he was one of the first guys to have like a nuclear strobe, and he would use a large format camera, the kind you could carry, not the one you put on a tripod. I think it's 6x6 or 8x8 instead of the large format camera, which is 10x10 or 12x12. When you have such a big negative, it's extraordinary because if you have a 50 millimeter lens, right, and you stop it all the way down, and then have a nuclear strobe, bang, everything from that lens out into infinity is in focus like razor blades. And if it's really dark and you got that nuclear strobe, everything that reflects light will be in your picture, and everything that doesn't won't. So it's this stark black and white image. So I kind of was really into that aesthetic, right? So my photography was that. And it was interesting because I hung with lots of different photographers, and how I got to be a photojournalist. I had a good buddy in high school who was a great photographer. He was in this town called High Point, North Carolina, and it was the furniture capital of the world. So it was very, of all the southern towns down there that were still, stuck in, you know, um, the Civil War. Um, that place wasn't. It had all these big factories. They're all unionized. Everybody made money. And then there was no racism. There was no difference between black and white people. They all got paid the same thing. They all drove the same Buick. Yes, it was the black side of town and the white side of town. And then there was the rich side of town, right? And it was interesting. The black side of town was almost as nice as the rich side of town because those people were striving to move forward, right? Everything like their high school that was segregated. They wanted to stay segregated, and they, in that town anyway, because their high school was far superior to the white high school because they both got about the same money from the state, but the black folk put more money of their own money into that school in getting really good teachers and paying them more, like giving them, oh, okay, you're going to come here and you teach, and you're like this PhD guy, great, and you've been teaching at a black college, great, and you're really up on teaching kids. You got a PhD in teaching kids, great. So we're going to give you a house and a car, and you get your salary. You wanted to take care of anything, but you put that money in a bank, and that's how they ran their scene. And so when I was there, it was everyone was so nice to each other. It was no, you know, na-na-nas. Everyone was Mr. Smith, Mr. Jones. Good to see you, Miss. Everyone was so polite, right? Now me, I was this, cheeky monkey, and I just came to visit my friend, right? I was like being on the down low from my draft board. Now I didn't break any laws. I didn't burn my draft board. I didn't. I was just never in any one place more than a few weeks. Not long enough for them. I'm not high on their list. The FBI, look, spent a lot of money to find me. That is really the whole number of the game is how much money they have to spend, right? So I was just having. I wasn't breaking any laws. I wasn't doing anything, and that is similar. I was in the similar situation as what people now call unregistered migrants, right, or immigrants, right? And here these people trying to escape El Salvador, Nicaragua, Chile, all of those Central and South American countries that we totally screwed, since, back in the day, but especially during Jimmy Carter, um, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton. That's when we were bringing into drugs, and it was our drugs, right? And we were paying them to do it. I mean, there's tons of books. The movie Tom Cruise plays as that pilot makes a really good story on how it was going. I mean, he was flying the heaviest weight of cocaine from Bogota into Bill Clinton's state. That's why Bill Clinton became president. As George H. would say, "Oh, I wish he was my son." Um, so it's hard to tell the players without a scorecard, right? So um, Jesus is my fan because he never, he threw the money change. So today is Palm Sunday. He rode into Jerusalem. Everyone, thought of him as the king. Everyone. But and so all of the scribes and all of the priests and all of the rabbis and the Pharisees came and, hey, Jesus, good boy. Hey, you're going to be our poster boy. Hey, you're going to be an A-lister. And they went over to him and patted him on the back, said, so let's have lunch Tuesday. And so, he said, fine. So he, did everything. The beauty of Jesus was before he was born, in the beginning, there was Jesus, he was, see, Jesus is God in man, right? Spirit is God in us. And God, the Father, is the Godhead, right? Now, the Godhead something that we don't even have, we can't even fathom, right? Anything that knows everything from the alpha to the omega, it's kind of hard to understand. And if you say you do, well, that right there is a big sin, right? So I can feel God, especially when I do something stupid and he laughs or it laughs. And, I can never tell whether it's a male or female laugh, but um, as love, it's agape love, there was, the Captain Antonil sang about muskrat love. Well, that's about what humans can feel, muskrat love. They can't go above that. They run around and are really horny and hump everything they can. And then when the little crew falls out of mommy and mommy's feeding them, if the dad's hungry, he'll muscle his way in for a sip. And then, if he wants something a little more yummy, he'll eat one of the kids. That's muskrat love, right? And that's about what we as humans feel. Right? We're right there because you just have to look at the strip. You have to look at Ukraine basically, like after this little attack in Moscow, you know, because you have to realize that about oh, almost 30% of Russia's population lives in Moscow and the suburbs, right? And up until now, they felt, they were, someone blew up a flag on top of the Kremlin and blah, blah, blah. But and nobody was like, no one's like hitting it like Russia is hitting the Ukraine. The Ukraine is, I mean, lost probably, including all the women and children that have been hijacked into Russia, and everyone who's died in their apartment or out walking the dog or going to the supermarket or having a beer. They probably lost close to 200,000 people. And the guys on, we're talking about 500,000 Ukrainians dead, right? They have a population of about 24 million, give or take, maybe 40, somewhere between 20 something million and 40 million, right? So they've lost, you know, 1% of their population. Now, Russia has lost probably 300,000, maybe 500,000 soldiers because they throw soldiers, they really don't care about them. So that's not, and there's so many diverse ethnic groups in Russia. And the ones who are the furthest away from Moscow are the ones who are getting gathered up to go on the front line. So they're not really big on this war. But once these, they lost close to 200 people and maybe 400 or 500 people are really messed up. And that big fancy place they built to have concerts is crisp. And, everyone in Moscow saw it, probably knows somebody who got affected by it. So that's affect. And see, that's Russia. Russia does not have a problem until it does, right? And I mean, that was, the czar was the czar until he wasn't, right? There's never a place to let off the steam. Whereas, we have JoJo and Donnie, and see, people don't realize because they can't step away from their prejudice that they're both the same character actor working for the hidden hand, right? And so both are there to allow steam to be let off. That's how it works. It's just let off, right? And yes, everyone is treated like a slave and super poor, but they're not as poor as some, the folks in Africa, the folks here, the folks there, the real poor folks, like, so we have almost 350 million people in the United States. And there are probably, let's say 100 million of them are poor. I mean, 40 million kids in the United States go to bed hungry, wake up even more hungry. They get a little something at school, but that's so they don't, starve to death, right? Because it wouldn't look good, right? So they get enough to stay above. They don't have the extended bellies. They don't have, but their health. That's why America, the age in which we die is going down, 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 down. Because the people who are now in the 50s and 60s, those guys, So I'm in, 70 going to 80. So I ate pretty good. I didn't have as many. Um, there were no fast food restaurants. Pretty much everyone ate at home. A lot of people still garden. I mean, in my grandma's neck of the woods, everybody gardened. There was a vegetable guy who had a little farm in Queens, and he would trot in from there and bring his horse and wagon and sell really. So anyway, that kind of existed up until the mid '60s, and that's when the ubiquitous corporate you know um, crony capitalism extended its Hail Hydra hand across America and then across the world, and that was called globalism. And so that's what Jesus Christ threw out of the temple. He said, and threw the money changers out. But that whole thing, it's not like what we're experiencing is anything new. So anyway, um, anybody there? How many people are there? Oh, nobody's there. Well, it's a sunny Sunday. What do I expect? Um, so this morning, so I got out of the man cave about 11 a.m. And for me to go to church, I had to be on the road by 9. Well, I was gone. So, and this guy who was going to teach today, the guy who normally teaches, who's, just, he was going to the beach this weekend, like a good Christian. And so he let this old guy who loves to preach, but he's old and he's got issues with his blood pressure. So if you're lying down, you have the lowest blood pressure. If you're sitting down, it's the next lowest blood pressure. If you're standing, no, it's the other way. If you're standing up, it's the lowest blood pressure. Sitting down, it's like the blood pressure. Lying down, you got the highest blood pressure, right? Little did you know, you'd think sleep, your blood pressure would be, no, it's when it's at its highest, right? So, I mean, that's why people die in their sleep. So, this guy, if, at the first time he did it when I was there, he stood up and he started talking, and then he went, whoop, and he just keeled straight over, right? And luckily, he hit just at the right angle of this pew. Instead of hitting the wooden part, his little head bounced off the cushiony part, right? So he didn't if his head had hit the wooden part, that would have been, he'd be out. He'd be gone. He'd be, brain aneurysm. So, everyone thought, oh, he's got, and there was a nurse and she had her little, blood pressure cup in the car. She came and brought it and said, oh, no, he was, he has just blood pressure issues and he was standing up. Right? So next time, this is where the preacher stands up and they have the two big chairs if the bishop ever shows up, and behind him is the place where people, where the people who don't sing very well, that's where they stand. And anyway, so next time he did that, I said, buddy, why don't you sit down and we'll all come down, because there was only 6 of us, not the whole church. Why don't we all come down and sit on this pew here and we can have fellowship? And nobody wanted to move from their seat. I've been sitting here for the last 60 years. I'm not moving down there. So we had to stand up. And of course, so what did I do? I kind of dragged the big chair up to, where the podium thing is. And I said, here, why don't you just sit, right? And have the microphone, and I'll move the podium over there. And, and then you'll be fine. And he said, oh, no, I have to stand. I have to be like a preacher. And I said, okay. So I sat in that chair. And then when he collapsed, I was right behind him and caught him and, got him. I stood up, put him in the chair. And the lady went out to her car, got the blood pressure cuff and said, yeah, well, he just fainted. So here's the third time in. And he said, don't do that. I saw him last week. I'm going to be doing it, and don't do that. I'm going to stand. I said, good. So, I did not want to be there while he did that. So, that was like last night when I was cleaning the toilets and vacuuming the place and cleaning it so it looks real nice. And people leave it like a ballpark. They leave their They bring food with them and leave it on the pews, right? And the pews are like, you know, they're not wood; they're cushioned, and they got a covering. And I have to like, I'm like the cleaning lady, but I mean, it's not as bad as it sounds, but it's worse than you'd ever think it should be, right? Why should people leave their food wrappers and their soda bottles on the pew? You know, you brought it in, take it out. You know, but probably better there than like throwing it off on the side of the highway. So anyway, I was there with a stand-up comedian, and we had to, we talked about everything. I was really going on about what's the problem with people not realizing that the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost is God, and it's God just doing different things, and God that the God we don't know, the Alpha Omega God, can't just show up. It's like when he showed up, he had to be a burning bush for Moses, right? And there weren't any laws then. That's why from the beginning to Exodus, that's why Israel was like a really bad girlfriend because there were no laws. People just did whatever the frack they wanted to. You know, unless you were, somebody who talked to God on a regular basis, and most people were too busy jacking off and stealing and lying and God never said those were sins. They just says those were distractions that got in the way, right? So that's kind of what it is. Let's see. Going to this thing for a show. It's 5:02. Let's see. Dudawake42 at Gmail, Dudawake42 at Gmail. Come see me, guys. There I am. No, it's just the usual suspects. Medical blah blah blah. John Boy and a few other guys who send me the same stupid crack. Yeah, this is a stupid crack these people send me. Oh, Jimmy.
13 years ago, NATO bombed Libya to protect civilians. That was what they said. This led to thousands of deaths and a country in ruins. And I just want to give you a little brief history before I bring in our guest. On the 19th of March 2011, the NATO bloc began a violent 8-month-long military onslaught of Libya, a sovereign African Union founding member state, which had enjoyed 4 decades of stability and prosperity and one of the highest human development index scores in all of Africa. So we've said this before on this show that Libya was the most successful country in all of Africa. It was stable, had prosperity. Muammar Gaddafi brought that to the people. NATO's justification for the aggressive and bloody attack was the now infamous Protection of Civilians Doctrine, formalized under UN Security Council Decree number 1973. The French Air Force, however, had already initiated a major raid on immobile Libyan army units. They had already pulled out of the city of Benghazi, a protest hotbed, in a show of goodwill and peaceful intent. More than 400 resting Libyan officers, soldiers, medical, and media personnel were massacred without the chance to fight back against an unjustified and undeclared foreign air attack. Tens of thousands more Libyans would perish under than 26,000 air raids, 100 cruise missile attacks, and a naval blockade conducted by NATO's 30-member coalition. Among the victims were a terrifying number of civilians from all walks of life. The number of women and children killed was especially high as they sought refuge in civilian buildings deliberately targeted by the mighty NATO, including houses, apartment blocks, schools, and community centers. Where have I heard that most recently? As we witnessed time and time again in Iraq, Serbia, Afghanistan, and Syria, NATO justified these attacks by claiming they were seeking out fighters and weaponry housed in civilian facilities. No evidence of that has ever been presented. In fact, given its 12 years of total control over Libya, the land, the resources, the institution, the archives, the West has been unable to show the alleged 8,000 victims of rape by the Libyan army, nor the 10,000 murdered civilians, nor the neighborhoods of Tripoli allegedly destroyed by Muammar Gaddafi's air force, nor the African mercenaries supposedly imported by Gaddafi government in the first week of the Libyan Spring, which was February of 2011. The actual crimes of Libyan revolutionary government, however, were real and consequential. What were those crimes? Well, Gaddafi's Libya was reshaping the political, economic, and cultural context of the African continent in radical and independent ways, not seen since the nominal decolonization of African countries in the 50s and the 60s. So, what Muammar Gaddafi was really doing was threatening Western hegemony by how? Well, Hillary's emails reveal the true motive for Libya's intervention.
Chris Cuomo said not to read those, Jimmy.
Newly disclosed emails show that Libya's plan to create a gold backed currency to compete with the euro and the dollar was, in fact, the motive for NATO slaughtering innocent people, decapitating its leader, and turning Libya from one of the most successful countries in all of Africa with a stable government and a prosperous culture into a failed state with open slave trading.
Price of freedom, as Jon Stewart says.
That's exactly what happened. That's what NATO did. That's not what Putin did. That's not what Hamas did. That's not what ISIS did. That's not what Al Qaeda did or the Taliban. That's what the French, the British, and the United States did. Again, I've said it on Tucker Carlson. I've said it on this show. I'll say it everywhere. The United States is the world's terrorists. There's no one else who can compare. I had a General Tata, on the show last week, and body count than the United States military? And of course, he couldn't answer that question, because if he did answer it honestly, he would be admitting that the United States, exactly as I said, is the world's terrorists. So today, let me bring in Musa Ibrahim. He's a Libyan political figure who rose to international attention in 2011 as Muammar Gaddafi's information minister and his official spokesperson, serving in this role until the government was overthrown in this Libyan civil war. This week marks the 13th anniversary of NATO's attack on Libya. After the war, Ibrahim fled the country. Please welcome Musa Ibrahim.
Thank you, Jimmy. Very honored to be with you today to discuss this very important issue and to have this dialogue with you and your esteemed guest. Could you remind me of the name of your
my co-host name is Kurt Metzger.
How you doing, buddy?
So
hi. I'm very honored to be with you tonight.
So Musa, I was quoting from some of your article. I was quoting also from an article from Foreign Policy Journal, and that's so tell me, what would you like to say on this 13th anniversary of one of the worst NATO atrocities in recent memory?
Well, Jimmy, let me first start by saying I salute you. I have such great respect for you. I have been listening to you for many years now, and I was surprised to see a voice like yours in the American mediascape, a very false mediascape full of lies and narrative that supports genocides and invasions and the killings of millions of people, and I really do mean millions of people in the global south. And I think what you do is important, influential, and I think recently, especially, many more people have been listening to you, and I think you do help people to have a critical perspective of their political, economic, and social reality, not just in the United States of America, but around the world. And secondly, I think what is most important today to discuss is this very idea that we do need to have this critical perspective of what is going on around us. We need to understand why there are so many wars so much violence, invasions, and so much injustice, not just in the Middle East, but also in the whole of Africa, the global South, and in Europe is happening, what happened with the Ukraine. And I think at the root of everything is a global system of greed. This is the very root of injustice and violence around the world. There is a global system that sustains itself on profit making, and for that end, it's prepared to do anything. It doesn't have this global system of greed. It doesn't have a moral center. It doesn't have a spiritual heart. All it has is this beastly lust for money and profit making. And for that, it needs to rob lands. It needs to rob continents and countries. It needs to rob oil, gold, iron, gas, everything that is valuable to serve not even the people of the rich center of the world, i.e. the West, but to serve only the 1% elite in this center. So even the American people, for example, the European nations are not benefiting from these wars and from this greed. And what happened in Libya, dear Jimmy, is a very powerful example. Libya is a very rich country. It has a really wonderful natural resources that were owned by American and British companies, especially up to 1969, when Gaddafi led his green revolution, as we call it in Libya. And within 1 year of him coming to power, he ordered and obliged all American and British companies to hand back the national wealth of Libya to Libyans. Something, of course, that angered the West, an enemy, a top enemy to the Western greed machine. Also within
So can I
6
just
months.
can I just stop you for a
please
second?
go ahead. Please go ahead.
And let me just make a parallel, because what you just said was that Muammar Gaddafi was, his idea was to keep the wealth.
So it's interesting. So I started him watching Jimmy Dore about 2 years ago, and Jimmy Dore does a great job. You know, he's one of the go-to guys I go to, along with who are the other guys I go to? Let's see, who are the other guys I go to? Let's see, Dark Journalism, you know, and our good friend, where is he? Scott Ritter, and our other good friend, what is he? Oh, I wish I can't see. Well, anyway, there's a bunch. So anyway, this guy, who you've heard me talk to, and he gets all upset when you don't let me make my point, blah blah blah. Right. So I gave him this, and this Jimmy Dore does a great job, right? He gets people, he lets them go with the flow, and he'll throw in a thing. So this thing goes on forever. So we'll play a little more.
Of Libya, which is not a poor country, the way they make you want, and keep that wealth for the Libyan people. And the same thing happened similar in 1953 in Iran, when the president of Iran was democratically elected, wanted to keep the oil for their people and the oil profits. Well, the CIA couldn't have that, and they did a coup and they overthrew him, and they installed a puppet called the Shah. And then the people eventually revolted against that, and they installed a right-wing theocracy, which is called, the CIA calls that blowback. So the CIA, when they do something like that, when they overthrow and decapitate a government so that Western companies can come in and steal their natural resources, the people eventually revolt back against that. And that's how you get the theocracy we have in Iran today instead of a thriving democracy that they had in the 50s. And that's because of the United States, again, being the world's terrorists and going in and stealing other people's net.
And you have to realize that when terrorists come into a place like Iran or Afghanistan or Iraq or Syria or any of those places, they were put there by the CIA. The Shah of Iran, right, was a character actor of the CIA. And then when the Ayatollah, he was waiting in Paris for a good 20 years, living a high life, to come in and take the place of the Shah and do exactly what the Shah did, but this time from a theocracy point of view. And so, and that's what we saw with JoJo when he just turned after being in Afghanistan for 20 years and after making a hollow version of a democracy that 30 to 40% of the population could take part of, and that women had a shot at, meaning girls could go to school, girls were semi-protected all across Afghanistan, and then he just walked away and let the Taliban, meaning everyone knew the Taliban. The Taliban was already taken over, county seats. It was already taken off, state capitals, and there were like 4 big cities. They didn't have those. That's where most of the military and Europeans were, and so we just walked away from it. We could have kept the status quo there without any real violence, like we had for about 3 years under Adani, with about 20 people there. But JoJo took them out like without telling anybody, and instead of getting everybody to the big base that we had, that was untouchable, we made everyone go through the downtown airport, right, in Kabul. It was like, you got to be kidding me. So, so that is the, we keep seeing this. So, everyone is kind of seeing this. Everyone, 9/11 we were attacked by not those guys, Al Qaeda. We got attacked by the neocons. Whether they did it themselves, which, if you read this thing called Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, they go into it very deeply. Whereas, the George W. and Dick weren't going to have any, they did it. Let's go start a war. But they weren't going to have an investigation until all those people said, what are you, nuts? No, we want to, so they had the Iran in 9/11 investigation. It was a joke because they used things like not even popular science. They had popular mechanics as their technical adjunct of explaining what happened, which was like, what? I mean, they had all these national laboratories. We have, Los Alamos, San Dimas, Kirkland Air Force Base. We have hundreds of, Brookhaven National Laboratories. We have all these, the laboratories of weights and measures, the Smithsonian. We have all these amazing facilities and top-notch personnel. Did we use any of them? No. We used the morons, had, 8th grade diploma at, not even Scientific American, but not even popular science, but popular mechanics, So it's, guys, it's right in our face. And everyone's going, Carrot Head, he's the truth. He's the only honest one. If we have him, it's the end of the world. And we need to use car salesmen. No, it's the same guys, It's like, oh, Lord. So basically what we're going to have is a nuclear war, not all out where everyone's dead, but a nuclear war where we have 9 billion people right now. We'll get down to 3 or 4 billion, right? The real hard case morons want only 500 million humans because we already have about 1 billion out in space. We have been out in space since the 50s, That's what the National Security Act of 1947 was, because we made deals with the aliens, just like we made deals with the Nazis. And our what we believe in our religious motifs have the same wacko masturbatory dynamic. And here it is, you know, Palm Sunday, and it's not that Jesus is always, you know, A, I wouldn't be talking to you, I'd be dead. And B, everybody, we would be toast. The only thing keeping us alive is Jesus' unconditional forgiveness and God's unconditional love. And the dynamic of that is in us, you know, our spirit, not in our heart, not in our soul, not in our brain, definitely not in how you look, it's our spirit. Okay, so that's enough of Jimmy Dore. Go look at Jimmy Dore. He's a great person to go take a look at. Um, let's see. And so then you hear morons like this guy. This is NBC, MSNBC, defending Trump.
And welcome to a special Friday edition of The Last Word, focusing on defendant Trump. Donald Trump has not come up with a magical solution to prevent New York's Attorney General Letitia James from beginning the process.
So before he won the 2016 election, Donald Trump did, they were going after him tooth and nail, right? And so then the Democrats had their primaries. And, Bernie, he was filling up stadiums with thousands and thousands of people. And Hillary couldn't even fill up a high school gymnasium with a couple of hundred. And so somehow through Magic Tuesday, she becomes the Democratic candidate. And the only reason that she was put there is that the only person that Donnie could win was against Hillary. Everyone hated her guts. Woo. So and she was down with that. They paid her billions of dollars to do what she did. Not a problem, right? Because it's all about money and power to folk like her. It's not about anything ideological. There is no ideological anything other than personal power and wealth, and Hail Hydra, and oh, I love ball, right? So, and let's go eat some children in the pizza parlor, right? So, and don't believe what I say. Go check it out for yourself, right? That's why there's only one person watching, but there's one thumbs up. Thank you very much, whoever that was. We've been doing this now for 48 minutes, and so and that's why I'm doing this show. I was reading the Bible and writing most of the day, and I was doing it out in the sun, and I sat in the sun and just felt God's unconditional love, and then I could see and I could breathe, and my joints felt better. So let's see if we can raise any people here. So you guys, anybody got anything to say? Come on, let's see. Yeah, look, see, it works. You can talk to me. Let's see if I'm in the zone for phone calls. Come on, it's 5:25. The day is so. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spring, summer, and fall. And except for nuclear war, we're going to have a solar eclipse in a week or so. After that, all bets are off. I mean, that's when really squirrely shit's going to happen. Really, 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 really. I would say there's going to be a semi-revolution in Russia, right? A lot of people who aren't definitely living in Moscow but are all over Russia are upset. And so they are mostly out there in the hinterlands where Russia's oil is. All they have to do is disrupt the pipelines. If they can keep the pipelines from pumping oil out of the coal next to the woods where the oil is, those wells will freeze up and they will never be. You'll have to drill new wells. Like in the 90s when the everything fell apart, um, and why it fell apart is because they stopped pumping oil and they stopped having markets, and everything just collapsed. And it wasn't until the West, I mean the South, the United States, England, etc., bought out all of that and sent in the Koch brothers to build whole new infrastructure that Russia had, and it was played straight to give Europe really free gas, right? So that's the so those guys start blowing stuff up like they blew up the concert, and they were just showing, um, you know, towers in the Kremlin. Listen, we could do this right in your main city, right next to at where you should be watching. The SSB is just down the street from where this rock and roll stand was, and you know they killed hundreds of people, hurt more than hundreds of people, and burnt the thing to the ground right in front of everyone's face. So it's not like no one could see it. The other stuff going on in Ukraine, it's like out of sight, out of mind. But this, wow. So those same guys who did that, right, are all over Russia, out there in the middle of nowhere, right where that pipeline is. You blow that up, you blow this other pipeline up, you blow that out, you take out a couple power lines, bango, they can't pump oil. You take out a few of the pumping stations, you take out certain very strategic, which are out in the middle of nowhere. And Russia hasn't any kind of security around them because it's out in the middle of nowhere. They don't think anyone's going to touch it. Ukraine can't send any drones there, but these guys were pissed off. And they've been pissed off for like a number of generations, but couldn't do anything because they end up either getting or put in the gulag. So anyway, they showed that they could do it, and they're just about to really do it. And once that happened, once Russia can't pump oil into China, into India, into the other markets, then Russia is going to be, and then they won't be able to, next winter heat their own homes. They won't be able to have food. They already are, their population is like they're killing off all the young guys who should be working and supporting the old guys. So this time next year, ooh, baby. But before then, Russia's going to have its last hurrah with Ukraine. And I think what it's, we have been giving Ukraine weapons this whole time where we're having this whole thing in our Congress going, oh, we're not going to send them anything. Well, we've been sending it, just like we've been sending Israel hundreds of millions of dollars of weapons to kill the kids in the strip. So what's going to happen is, and it all comes in through Poland and other Baltic things on Ukraine's border. And so Russia, is going to basically, and they're like, built this line, which you build a line, you make it really strong. It's hard to attack, right? You mine everything, 2 miles before the wall. It's hard to attack. You put guys up there with machine guns every 20 feet. It's hard to attack. So basically, Russia, it has now probably 400,000 guys in uniform, semi-trained, and a lot of stuff left over from World War II on. I mean, it probably got, I don't know, 50,000 tanks. A tank is a tank, whether it's a brand new modern tank with lasers and night sight. No, you put 1,000 tanks on the line, open up the gate, and send them this way. Yeah, a lot of them will get blown up, but it's still a lot of tanks. And if you have soldiers with those tanks going after the people shooting at the tanks, I mean, that's Russia's biggest problem. They haven't been doing that, but now they learn. After 2.5 years, they've kind of picked up some strategies, kind of realized, oops, we made a few mistakes here, and they're kind of getting their shit together. Kind of meaning that this war has done more to make Russia a real threat than it was for the last, I mean, it could hardly even go after Moldova. It could hardly take a little teeny weeny teeny down in the last 14 years. Anyway. So they're going to like open up the gate and send a whole bunch of guys through. And the Ukrainians are just going to like, come on, boys. And they're going to come in and they're going to kill, blow up all those tanks, take out like 60 to 100,000 guys. And then that door is still open. They're going to start rushing into Russia. And that's when, good old Putin will read the script and it says, launch the nukes, launch the Krakens. And so they'll take out Kiev and Odessa, right? And they will hit a very important spot right on the Polish Ukraine border, right? And that nuke will, maybe it won't blow up right on Poland, but it will kill a lot of people who are in that area. The radiation, the burn, the concussion. The bomb may not fall on Poland, but the effects definitely will. And then NATO will get all blustery and go into Russia, and that's when Russia will nuke, a couple places in Poland. It will hit, the place where NATO is down there in wherever that is. Hit maybe even London, maybe even go after the city of London. A few places, like 20 places in NATO, like just to show, one in every NATO country, especially Sweden and Finland. They'll probably devastate those places to dust, right? Just to show, don't join NATO. And that will be by this time next year, right? Before, we're going to have the election. So we'll have this election, and we'll see. I would say we'll have this little thing happen before the elections, and they won't nuke us because, man, we have a total, and that's not in the script, and so that's kind of, other than aliens, if this doesn't happen before the 4th of July, I would say on the 4th of July we will have an alien invasion, right? That's why they made that, that. Oh, there's somebody. Okay. The phone clicked in. Let's see what Johnny Boy. He's always good for a laugh. There he is. Oh, I jumped. There he is.
Please leave your message for 5.
Oh, well. Well, let's see what Johnny's talking about. We'll look at his site. That's strange.
Good morning, senors y senoritas. No! We would like to sing you a song. Here it is. Boys, 1, 2, 3. We are the three. Amigos, we always will be. We are the three. We are the three.
I mean, where could you get something like that? You know, Johnny Boy never disappoints. He really doesn't. I mean, I think Jesus really loves that. You know, I mean, I go on about stuff. You know, I give you the other thing about things, but does that really matter? Nah, nah. A lot of people, you know, like Stalin said, you know, it's a real tragedy when a baby dies, right? When 1 million of them dies, just numbers, right? So, and that's where we're at, right? Jimmy Dore, you know, the little bit I played of Jimmy Dore and the guy who was the information officer for, you know, the great leader, um, Gaddafi. I mean, I went to that country in the '70s. He did a great thing. I mean, he gave everyone education, health care. Everyone was fed. You know, the English and Americans had drilled the oil wells and had the, you know, the thing was that they had, you know, they had this thing called Libya crude or pure or anyway, it was like almost gasoline out of the tap. I mean, it was amazing. The oil, it always sold for more than any other oil, right? It wasn't gooky, it wasn't crappy, it was the best, right? And he basically um, made a deal with those guys because he had a limited source of that stuff, right? He said, okay, listen, um, I will basically play along with your narrative, right? And I won't really cut in on your thing. And we will pay you back for everything of the infrastructure that you put in here, right? And we'll do it double. We'll make it worth your while. But you know, I want to keep, you know, and it'll be a good thing because before me, you know, Libya, you gave us weapons, all this stuff. We kept, you know, blowing up stuff. We won't do that. We will do your bidding. You want us to play the thing of the terrorist? We will have. There's a bunch of us, you know, bunch of people that who want to do that. I'll let them. You tell me when, where, how. You know, like you know, the bombing, the Lockerbie bombing was done by their boys at the behest of the CIA, and because the data that was about what and it wasn't by the CIA, but the hidden hand. Um, and what it was, you know, Colonel Sanders, you know, no, Colonel, what's his name, the Marine guy who was in the basement of the White House for during the Ronald Reagan's 8 years, Colonel whatever his name was. He was General, the guy who was, you know, again, I'm not good with names. It'll pop into my head. Anyway, everyone views this guy. He advertised himself as the great American hero, this Colonel. Anyway, so he was running, you know, big time drug deals, you know, and that's what Iran Contra was about. You know, the funding of all the stuff that Congress stopped funding with drug money, right? And that's why we have such a problem in Central and South America, is because we turned it all into, instead of just governments doing this, you know, these gangs, which are, you know, breakaway civilizations, you know. So anyway, what Gaddafi did, which was really truly amazing, was he took, um, you know, all the technology that the English Americans had left there, and he built colleges of teaching guys how to be engineers to do that, right? And so they became really good at that. So they could go to places like, you know, Russia and help them with the. But what they really got good at was going for deep wells, offshore deep wells, right? And they use that technology on their own land to go after water. And they turned Libya into the Garden of Eden. And before what Jimmy Dore described, Libya was making more money selling vegetables to the EU than oil because they knew they were had a limited amount of oil where they were, and even though it was the best of the best oil, and even though they had infrastructure and everything was flowing nicely and they were getting a good, they kept investing in themselves, in building a diverse economy, educating everybody, healthcare, feeding them, giving them a house. So there was nobody upset with the great leader. So when I went there in the late 70s, before I hooked up with Don, when I was in Sweden and going to all these countries on the Swedish nickel, that's one of the places I went and visited. And I went to Syria too, and I went to Iraq, and it was quite interesting because everyone was going how it's a terrible dictatorship, blah blah blah. In a lot of ways, those were better countries for their people than America. They hardly had anybody in jail. Everyone was eating. Everyone had. You could do like in Iraq. I was there, and I went on a couple of tours with the Swedish people, and I basically they were boring, right? So I went off on my own, and the Swedes who were in Iraq as the tour guides, they had their offices. They had a lot of Swedish people there, and they were, they weren't just being Swedish tour guides. They were, doing deals, and they were doing intelligence. And anyway. Every time I went to these places, and I went it on the Swedish nickel, I would basically by the third day be hanging out with all the Swedish people the young tour guide folk rather than the old farts, right? And so because they wanted the lutefisk and they didn't want to experience Syrian food, which was amazing. They didn't want to try the Iraqi culture or go to they would go to some of the sites, but there was some of the most amazing ancient civilization things, and there were things that the French and the English, and that's why in '91 we went in there because they discovered lots of technology, lots of ancient technology, right? And if you go on YouTube, you can there are lots of people who talk about it, right? Well, I was right there while it was happening, right? So whatever those guys are saying is pretty 99% true, right? All the stuff you see about Sitchins and all the stuff you see about, mystery schools and all the stuff you see about magic, it's just another man's technology. And it's definitely so all the stuff that we think is real, that's a lie. It's a hoax. It's a vehicle of addiction to get you in a place, right? So this morning, when I woke up and I couldn't see, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move, I just kind of sat there and felt God's unconditional love. And then it was like melting the ice cube. I saw, I can breathe now. Okay, that's good. I can start to move my limbs a little bit. That's good. And I crawled out of bed, and I sat there and meditated. And then my eyes started to work. And now, so they're a little gunky. There's a few floaters, but it wasn't like before. I couldn't, it was like I was looking through the jungle. It's like so anyway, so John's little three amigos, that's a good thing. That's more real than me or Jimmy Dore or any of the other guys going on about stuff, right? Because you can see right there, that's when God is touching John. Yes, it's a trope. Yes, it's sexist. Yes, it's xenophobic. Yes, it's all those things. But the beauty of it, it represents America in such a amazing way of like, yep, that's what we are right there. See this video? That's who we are. Better than Jimmy Dore going on with that other guy. Our boy is doing a much better job of putting forth how screwed up we are, how screwed up our religions are, how screwed up everything is, which is okay, because without being screwed up, we would never be able to learn anything. And that's another thing our boy does. He keeps doing the same kind of crazy shit all the time, showing that he ain't learning shit. But that's okay. That really is okay. If he could just ease into like realizing that he is serving God's unconditional love. He is, being amazing. Then he would be a little happier, and then he could, not, you know, because for every three amigos he makes, he keeps doing. Look how good I look. It's like really, you oh no, walking around in those little skimpy banana hammock shorts and. It's like, oh my God. Again, though, it is amazing because that is America right there. John in that shape is where we are. I keep saying he's the canary in the social coal mine. That's right what he is, buddy. So it's like you can't get any more. My God, please, no, I can't watch any more of this. That's our boy. And keep at it, John. Meaning, I do this because guy keeps saying, just keep telling the story. They don't even have to believe it. Just keep dropping that pebble into the shamanic pond of the World Wide Web. So that's what I do. I really have nothing else to do. I am writing my stuff. Yeah, nobody probably read it, but I enjoy writing it, just as I enjoy doing it. Meaning, I'm doing this because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the kind of conversations we have. And get a hold of me at the dudeawake42 at Gmail, dudeawake42 at Gmail. Dudeawake42 at Gmail, right? So, and good luck, whatever you're going through, good luck, you need my help. I'm here waiting for it, right? I'm always at your side. Now, it might take a little while. I don't always have access to the email, and I don't even know how to look at it all the time. Just as I have no idea what I'm doing here, So earlier on when I did this, there was this young, I don't know how, she probably wasn't young. She was an interesting woman in Florida, right? Something ocean or blue seas or something like that. And she said, "Oh, you're the beautiful." And she goes, I'm what she called herself, one of those people who decides for people what to watch, right? Whatever they call those people. I want to do that with you. I want to make you famous. And I said, great, sure, let's do it. So we were talking, and every time she would then tell me stuff, that was like personal, and I would, give her my insight on it. She didn't like what I said. So, and then I stopped, after about the third time, we would just talk about blah, blah, blah. And then, she would say, no, I really want you to tell me. I really need you. I need to understand. Tell me, please tell me. I said, okay, but don't hold it against me. And then I would tell her, and then she'd get upset again. And we'd go through that little dance. So by the third time, she basically, which is fine by me. But I'm always there. I mean, to me, my mind, meaning because she put up some photographs, not many, handful, and they were quite good, within my aesthetic taste. They were like, yeah, this girl knows how to use a camera. And she played the guitar once. She was way, way, way amazing above John Boy, who just kind of plays the same three chords and strums it fast. Right? She was like, oh, that's okay. And I never heard from her again. I would every so often say, hey, here I am. Hey, I hope you're doing well. And pretty much that's my motif about everyone. I hope you're doing well. I really hold nothing against anyone, because if you get upset with anybody, it's really you're getting upset with yourself. When someone does something that makes you go, first thing you have to do is, why am I feeling this way? What? And then you kind of deconstruct it and go back, and you'll see the other little threads there. Oh, look at that. Okay. So you can actually thank that person for making you go, because it made you see things about yourself that you were ignoring or you didn't even see at all. Well, it's getting cold again. It was nice and comfy when the sun was directly over my head when I kind of started doing this, but now it's kind of going before the not so much clouds over there, and it's probably Let's see. Let's see what temperature it is. I might turn the car on. It'll tell me what temperature it is. And how much diesel are you in the red zone? No, we still got it. I made a nice sauce. So the door is ajar. I never knew the door was ajar. I always thought the door was a door. I didn't know it was ajar. But this vehicle has done me something. Okay. Oh, it is 59 degrees. It was above 60 something when I started. So let's see. Let's turn the heat on. See if that'll warm me up a bit. Roll the windows up. Okay.
Hello.
Hey, Slim, we're live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Yep. So
How
we've
you
been
doing?
talking about this, that, and the other thing for
Okay.
an hour and 17 minutes. We probably have 20 minutes or so of battery left.
All right. Last 20 minutes.
Yep.
Let's make it bad. I mean, good. Excuse me.
Bad, like, you know, I always knew bad meant good.
No, I meant it in the in the real definition.
not the street. Boy, that was bad. Yeah, not that one.
Yeah, no.
So I was going on about, I kind of visited things like Jimmy Dore. Did you ever see Jimmy Dore? Did you ever look at him or
You've mentioned him many times to me, and it usually says he has controlled opposition.
Yeah. But, you know, he still has. So there's anybody. Of course, I'm controlled opposition. You know, that's the only reason I exist here, you know. If I was really.
Well, I mean, that's the only reason we can use this platform to say anything.
Right. Because
it's to perpetuate the illusion of freedom.
Yeah, right. That's
okay,
right.
Listeners, you think you're free because you can listen to some wacky opinions.
Right.
And in fact, you are not.
Right, in fact, you're not. So we go on a tour of that every time I go on show. So it's okay. And John Birmingham, his most recent video was he he understands how to use all those tools. So he's got green screen and all that kind of stuff. He's got as good AI as probably the CIA does. And
yes, but technology is not a substitute for mental health
or aesthetic creativity, right? Yeah, you can have. Yeah, well, he is.
I mean, he's not my cup of tea.
Right, he's not. But so he did. But see, what he does that I find most interesting, better than anyone else, he shows right in front of your face who and what we are.
It's pretty stark. We are basically I don't know,
narcissistic, hedonistic, all those systems.
A corrupted biomass.
Corrupted biomass. I like that one.
Well, I'm just, the older I get, I just want to keep it simple, you know.
Keep it simple. Yep.
A corrupted pile.
I mean, that's it. You caught it right. Corrupted biomass, right?
Corrupted biomass.
But correct. See, he has this other little thing in him of the innocent wanting to be the loving puppy.
Correct. And he is in constant conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's we're all the innocent puppy who just wants to live and be authentic and care for the self and care for others
And feel love. Did I lose you? Did you disappear?
and
No, there you go.
Illuminati, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
which has been bred into us since we came out of our, well, even before we.
Oh, way before, right? Before Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
Right.
At the creation of the earth.
Yep, exactly.
The demiurge.
Yep, the demiurge. Yep.
So many of us kind of come, on a subconscious level, gut level. We kind of recognize that, hey, wait a minute, this is kind of bullshit here. But the vast majority around us is pretty well indoctrinated and infected with the mutant culture. So we have, try to make sure we don't get killed or hurt or forced into situations. And then we just kind of avoid the masses as much as possible because they're basically, to quote Charles Bukowski, their love would kill you.
Yes. Yep, they'd stomp you to dust.
Pretty much.
Yep.
And it's, some days I feel like I'm cursed that I understand that. Some days I feel blessed.
Well, why do you think you're cursed?
Well, because sometimes you just wish to just say, fuck it. I wish I didn't know how fucking corrupt everything was. And I just was stupid as everybody else. And maybe I'd be happy.
Well, do you think all those, what we or people say, oh, they're just stupid, they don't know what it is. They know it, but they don't, they have just turned down the volume so they can just, because the people who act that way the most, they're not stupid people. I know a lot of well-educated, well-connected, blah, blah people who they just want to experience the shit that they got going, and that's it.
Yeah, I just wish I could. I don't, for some reason, maybe I'm just defective. I don't have the capacity to do for long stretches of time. I can do it, but then the mechanisms start to break down.
Do you think that's why you were addicted? Do you think that's part of the addicted personality, that you can't turn the shit off, so you go into the addicted personality?
I don't know if I would say it so much like that as I would say that those who are so-called addicted suffer from a spiritual malady where they need a source of meaning more so than maybe your non-addicted person.
So they're so I understand about addiction.
But then again, I think addiction is on a spectrum. So
yes, I think everyone. Yes, I was just about to say that. Yep, I would say that.
More pronounced.
Yes.
I don't have the time or the inclination to run a research committee on my fucking life.
Right.
But to keep it simple, God-sized hole. And some people have a bigger God-sized hole than others.
Right.
So.
Yep. And everyone's like.
For me, what I'm starting to learn is to hone in on the capacity to assign meaning to situations.
Mm-hmm.
So, and assign a meaning to it where it does not cause me distress. So, and that's one of the greatest gifts I believe the Creator has given us. The ability to assign meaning. So when I'm feeling distressed, I have to realize what is it that I'm doing within my thinking or my programming that I'm trying to break that is causing me that. Because that's a good American, to be devastated because they don't have the right car.
Right.
That's a good American.
Yeah,
that's what the mutant culture wants. That's
right.
The disease of the biomass.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one. But to keep it simple, it's to be of value, you must seek things outside of yourself. That's the corruption of all mankind.
Well, see things outside yourself and value them more than your spiritual connection to love.
Correct.
And that's what
yes,
sin is. When you do that, that's
Correct.
really the only sin there ever is that right there.
well, that's it. And this is where all, at least the religions that I understand, they're all about how the material realm is corrupt due for that very reason.
Yep.
I mean, it's said differently, but to keep it simple,
That's what they're saying.
That's really it.
Yep.
Now you got Mr. Birmingham, who clearly has mental illness, and when he takes his shirt off, he has nice breasts, by the way.
I know.
So,
Really, I mean,
so we
he's got
call
the
him-
breast
we
that
call him
Playboy is
John
looking for.
Call him John Titty Man.
Yeah,
But
Titty
any-
Man.
But anyway, what he has in financial help from wealthy parents and whatnot, unfortunately, he doesn't have the balance or the maturity to use any of those resources in a way that's healthy for himself or anyone else for that matter.
Right.
But yet he'll flop back and forth and talk about Jesus and the Bible, when in fact his, or at least what I've observed on his channel, is pretty tainted by the corruption of the material realm. Or he'll just say things that he heard someone say on Fox News or some other place because he thinks he's supposed to say that. He's basically clueless.
Right. But that's why I'm saying you want to look what is going on in our culture. And there is no hiding it or shading it.
No, it's very honest.
It's like right there it is.
Yeah.
So that's why people, why even have anything to do with him? Because he is that. And he goes through these little, and we were talking about the spectrum. He hits every little, he doesn't just stick on his little part of the spectrum. He's all over it,
Well, that's the mental illness.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure he's been diagnosed with maladies. I'm thinking he's probably borderline, bipolar, maybe schizoid affective.
But he does the same thing that you were saying. He saw this on TV or that. And so when they do throw the butterfly net on him and drag him in and keep him in the rubber room for, a week or so, they get annoyed.
Hospitalized, right? Numerous times?
Oh, yeah. That's why he's scared to go away from the house because
they'll lock him up.
Yeah, because they do grab him. Because
kind of interaction with the 7-Eleven clerk, he might get fucking locked up.
Right. That's it. Everyone and I've been out and about with him. And like one time we were at the supermarket and, we were in his vehicle. So we're going to get there and I get out, and, I'm not the most ambulatory guy. And he had one of those trucks at the time that was like 7 stories high, pickup truck that, and so it took me a lot just to get down. Getting up, that's even worse because I had gravity. But anyway, I get down and I'm heading towards the supermarket and I turn around and he is gone. And it's at the mall. So gigantic parking lot. And so I see you can't miss his truck. It's like, 2 stories higher than any other vehicle. And so he's going down the road and he is following a woman. Right. And, and she's trying to, obviously she doesn't want to go to where her car is. So she's going all over the parking lot and he's like, and I go, uh-oh. And so I kind of hobble over there. And by the time I get over there, everyone's there wanting to, and he's wearing football pads on his shoulders so he can have big shoulders. And one of those rock and roll guys jackets with the big shoulders and a wig with a football helmet on and like girls, tiny, teeny underpants.
Wow.
Yeah. Until they had him out of the car. And I said, guys. And I knew one of the cops. I said, hey, I'll take care of this. And he said, good. Please take care of this. So I said, okay, John, give me the keys. Get in. Here we go. We're out of here. And so, and so then he went down by himself and tried to do a video of that. And that's when he really got in trouble.
Jesus Christ.
And he was all upset for you.
Yeah, but you can't argue with crazy people. It's
Right.
a waste of time.
No, it's a waste of time.
That's like basically like I had fun on Friday, because I'm supposed to see these characters, these clients, and the guy was great because he was like, "Yeah, just get high on crystal," and I was like, "Wow, well, not much we can really talk about if you're fucked up on crystal."
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, you're right." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll tell you what, just sign these papers and I'll fill out the rest." And I don't suppose you want help? No, not really. I said, "Okay." That's it. And I get paid for that.
Yep. Yep. And
then
that's
I have another guy.
the American way.
They just like dumped them off,
Right.
like the social workers. They just dumped them in my lap. They're like, "Oh, well, here's I don't know, some Hispanic name." I saw the kid about a week ago. We only do the assessments with him within 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't speak a lick of English. So, and it's 4:30, and I have to leave at 5. So I was just like, "Oh, I know you don't understand a word I'm saying." Hello? Okay. Don't suppose you want to get treatment. Okay. And with that one, I didn't even have to fill out the forms.
Right.
I already saw him before. Basically, I had him talk to a
Interpreter.
telephone
Right.
translator. And he said, "Yeah, I come to your country. I have AIDS. I need a place to stay. I drink too much. I don't want help." Okay. So.
And so where did he come
I
from?
don't know who has it easier, me or John? Now that I just shared that with you.
What was that?
I said, now that I just shared that with you, that's the kind of thing I deal with Monday
Right.
through Friday, 40 hours a week, or
Right.
actually 35, excuse me.
Yep.
Who has it easier, me or John?
You do.
Yeah, I need to be reminded of that. I think I'm coming in a close second, though, which is kind of sad.
Oh, no, not even.
I mean, there are days where I have meltdowns that, if they were filmed for YouTube,
Right.
I think they could be used as evidence to have me put away for a very long time.
Well, I don't think so. Because you're having them. See, that's the difference.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's the big difference right there.
Well, that's actually a very valid point. I'm not thinking any of the history of my going to. Actually, I was going to send my therapist the nastygram text, basically demanding that she refers me to someone exactly like her, except male, and that if she does not have the ability to do this, she is a complete failure.
Well, see, that's relevant to your nasty side. Like you said, you sent her a nastygram. That was very nasty, and
I didn't send it because you called. So
Right.
it interrupted my acting out. But I will send her a text saying, "Please find me."
See, I could do that. Back in the day, there was a period in my life, especially when I worked in the corporate world, and they needed me more than I needed them. I could do that, and that was part of my shtick. Meaning, I'm saying I'm doing this for their own good. They're paying me, blah blah blah. But at a certain point, I realized, my dog told me this, that it wasn't even why do it.
Right.
They're not getting anything out of it. The people who I would do that to, that might get something out of it, I took it from a different tact where I was being my nicest rather than the nasty gram.
Yeah.
And they got more out of the nicest part than the nasty part.
Absolutely. No, I've actually over the years have learned to contain the nastiness and just come out like sounding really like I kind of like to make people uncomfortable with my kindness. I know that's
right. No, I do the same thing. I'm
I like to do that, like right.
Yes. And that's Freudenscheider.
Yeah, when they were absolutely no help whatsoever.
Yep.
Usually say, "Oh well, I really do appreciate your time and your effort, and have a great weekend.
Right.
Thank you." It's basically a euphemism for I don't even know why the spermatozoa even fertilized the egg to create you.
But again, I learned because I have a really good skill. I'm not even having to say that, just kind of upper my eyebrow and just kind of and I go right into their soul and dig out that crap and say, look at that. And that's so they can get real scared over that one. And I stopped.
You think I could learn how to do that?
Oh, pay me enough, I will teach you.
Okay. Most of these conversations have been painful, so I think I paid you enough.
No, but see, my thing is that's when I want to get paid even more because I don't look at that pain as a equity.
Absolutely, it's not. Well, not with you and me, but there's other people.
Right. Oh yeah, no.
I charge aggravation.
Right, our society runs on that, but no. Yes.
I charge aggravation tax.
Yes. I used to, when I was my concierge electrician, mental health guy, and I worked for all these really rich people, building their condos and restaurants and whatever, right? There's this one woman. Do you remember the TV show Mary Hartman?
It was a little before my time, but I saw some of the reruns.
With Louise Lasser. Yes, it was like. Anyway, I used to have to watch that. And I think it was on every night or, I'd have to watch it either every week or every night just to know where this woman was coming from. Because she would watch it and the next day she would act. She'd wear the same clothes, the same hairstyle, say the same stuff. And so to get through it, and I charged her for it. I said, why you had 16 different contractors and you're sued by about 20 other people is because of this. Now I see it clearly. So you seem to not be able to help yourself. So I will, not a problem, and I will deal with it. But we're gonna, I'm tacking 30 grand on top of what I'm gonna charge you to be a contractor / electrician designer. And she said, okay. But it was like amazing. It made John look.
I think it's only amazing when we realize that we're actually worth more than that's what I've over time. A lot of times it's just tell them what the fuck you need.
Right.
And they'll give it.
Right. Oh yeah. And the other thing is, I learned, especially with rich people, you don't tell them a price. You go, what do you think that was worth to you? And they're going to come back more and more and more and more. So they know that. And so they basically pay you way more than what you were going to ask. Yeah. When I had my little healing temple on Wall Street, on Pearl Street, just down the street from the Wall Street market there, I was in Edison's old, his first electric plant that he did so he could wire up the street lamps up Pearl Street, right up to the front door of Wall Street. And so all those investors could see the electric lights on the streets and in the buildings. And so, oh, wow, yeah, this is the way to go. So, but it was a beautiful old building, concrete and brick. And I was way on the, I was up on the roof, and it was like it was like being in a church because they were 2, 3, it's where all these big wheels were, the steam engine was in the basement. Anyway, that was my place. And so I was like Quasimodo. And they had all these platforms. I had a buddy come in and spray paint it with polyurethane clear because there's no way to clean up, 100 years of grease. You just take as much off you could and then cover it up with something hard. So anyway, and on the ground floor was the first off-track betting place. Second floor was marijuana. Third floor was cocaine. Fourth floor was meth and heroin. And then I was the top 2 floors. So I was going up the concrete steps, and this guy in a $1,000 Brooks Brothers suit was dead on the steps. Right? I take his pulse, and his artery pulse is just barely there. His other pulses were kind of there. So I put him in a fireman's carry over my shoulder. He's a kind of short guy, and I carried him up there, put him on my crystal table, and took re-energized all his chakras, put him in an ice bath, then a really hot bath, and then the ice bath, the hot bath. And then I swaddled him, what you do with babies, and put him on my energy, my orgone energy bed, and made a nice pot of tea and was reading something. And he came out and he goes, "Am I in heaven?" Nice pot of tea. And so I said, "Yep, you are." And so we talked, gave him some tea. And he said, "Can I come back?" I said, "Yeah, I will always be here after 4:30." Am I in heaven? And so that was so when he went downstairs, he said, "What do I owe you?" I said, "There's a little basket by the front door, whatever you want." So he left 5 Benjamins. And so do you have a device that is repeating what I'm saying? Or is it the magic of the internet?
It's the magic of the internet.
Okay. Anyway, so that's what I'm talking about. So I never asked any of those guys. And then he told his other druggy dead friends about me. And so I had a really nice practice. I was making, lots of money.
Reviving corporate drug addicts.
Right. And I could do it and not do anything and have way more money than what I'd made as an electrician. I was making a lot of money at that. And I did it for about 8 months. And at a certain point, I got enough street cred and a lot of other things that I went and did other stuff. I taught at places and I did other things. And I stopped doing it because I wasn't really doing any good. All I was doing was enabling these guys to do more drugs and fuck up our economy.
Yeah. Well, listen, sometimes when we do good for ourselves, we're doing good for others.
Right. And that's what I like to do.
The more money you got in your pocket, you can tip somebody.
Yep.
You don't have to think about your finances. You can be present for people.
Yep.
And, but then again, Bob, this is going to sound really mean. And you know me, I don't give a shit. But it really is. I'm at a point right now where it's kind of like, well, just to backtrack for a second. I'm glad that you said, hey, you know what, Robert, when you're having your meltdowns. So thank you for that. Mm-hmm. Most of the and how do I put this politely, fuckers that I deal with, I'm not dealing with it anymore. I've come to a place where it's like, I'll give you suggestions, but if you have no awareness, then I'm not going to waste my time.
Right. If they don't want to care about themselves, why should And
I tried to keep that line, from the very beginning when I got sober.
Right.
But now I'm more like, I'm very quick to just be like, this is a time waster. I'm done.
Yeah.
I really don't. I barely give the benefit of the doubt anymore. It's just kind of like, I've already seen the patterns so many times. It's so ubiquitous that I don't even try. It's just like, I know. It's just like, no. And this is a more positive spin on it. Because I know this, and we all know that the capacity for a human being to change is available to any human being, regardless.
Yep.
However, the percentage of those who do is very small.
Right. And in a lot of ways, and this is what's hard for most people to realize, it's not their fault.
No.
And because they're in this very sick society that
they're born into the
Right.
mutant culture,
Right,
like I
right,
said,
right.
or the infection, or
Right.
the Archon system, or
Yep.
whatever. So I'm to be honest with you, I just wish those Archons or the eye in the triangle give me a little wink so I could get a little bit of loot. You know.
Right. Well, the
I'm
thing
sure
is,
I'm sure I could be of great service to them because I understand how this stuff works.
well,
I
the
have no problem in helping people to tie the noose further around their neck because they choose to do it.
well, but see, the problem is with that. At a certain point, you do have a responsibility. So that's why I, at a certain point, after I died, and I was okay, we're sending you back. We're telling you now what we want you to do, but when you get there, you won't have a clue. But the one thing I did realize, I got rid of everything I didn't need. Right? And so now, in 14 years later, I don't really have any lack of money. I don't have any worry about anything because I always have what I need. Right? And if I need to win the lottery, I'll win the lottery. If I need whatever, if Elon, if I need to have Elon Musk hire me, he will. But I'm letting another force take care of that rather than me.
I just wish I had more like that kind of confidence for myself. Some days I have it, some days I'm like, I don't know, man.
Well, it makes it a lot easier, I tell you. It's you don't bend yourself out of shape as much as I used to. So.
No, I feel like I'm staying committed to this whole stoicism thing.
Well, that's good. That I would say that's and doing things like that is excellent. Especially if you keep
or perish, and I'm not going to perish.
Right,
so
but it's having those tools. That's what they are, tools. Are you journaling about all of this?
Nope, not as such.
That might be good. When you go into things like stoicism, it's really good to journal because it gives you an access to understand. That's why do you think I write so much?
Yeah.
It's not like I really think someone's gonna.
I don't know where I found this. If I got it online, or I don't think I wrote this myself, but I was going through my computer and it's jumped out at me.
Right.
And it's called "The Rules of a Welcoming Life."
Mm-hmm.
Suicidal ideation in all forms will not be tolerated.
Right.
Life-affirming ideations are welcomed.
Yes.
Self-deprecating thoughts and speech will not be tolerated.
Right.
Self-encouragement in thoughts and speech are welcomed.
Yep.
Anger towards self, others, and God will not be tolerated.
Yep.
Acceptance, patience, and love towards self and others and God is welcomed. Disempowering thoughts and speech will not be tolerated.
Huh.
Association with like-minded people is welcomed. Understand the individual is of value, not the collective. There is no hope for humanity, but there is for the individual.
Uh-huh.
Love your brother as yourself. I am resilient. I'm a fucking cockroach, and you can't kill me.
Right.
That's from something I found called The Rules of a Welcoming Life. I don't know who wrote this.
Is that online?
And I don't even know where I got it.
Is that online? If I Google...
I tried looking it up online, like a Google search, and I couldn't find it.
Huh.
So I have no idea. I think it might have been a handout at some retreat or something. I don't remember. But it has come at the right time, and this is something I read every morning now.
Oh, that's good.
Along with my daily Stoic book.
I would say that's almost better than the Stoic, because it is. I mean, in itself, it is the foundation and the keystone of Stoicism.
Yeah, that's why I was really, but then again, I guess God saw fit for me to have to bring my laptop to work because the government computer is broken. And so, of course, I have to bring my own. And in doing so, I pressed the button and I saw these files come up and I said, and it said, to a welcoming life. And I said, oh, this might be interesting. So who knows when I put it on there? Probably, because I kind of store things away and forget about them. So I guess this was at the right juncture.
The more you do
Actually,
that, the more you allow that to happen, that's when a real change in your life, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's like I tell people, whatever your path is and the tools of that path, just continue to practice it and allow for the change to happen and recognize that you in and of yourself are not making the changes, but you are being changed.
Right.
And that's at least for me, within the last 4 years, to understand that you're not changing yourself with all the reading and all this other stuff.
Yep.
You're allowing yourself to be changed. That's a whole different mindset.
And you know what? The other interesting thing, it even goes further into the fact that not so much that you're choosing or allowing, it's just that through these experiences, enough atoms are moving one way or the other where more and more of this light comes in. Because anything we think we're doing to make it better or change it no, that's not it. You're not healing yourself. You're not fixing yourself. And it's like I said, it's not even allowing yourself. It's just getting yourself out of the way.
Yeah, that's a saying we say in the 12-step world. Just get out of your own way.
Right.
And that doesn't mean don't do anything.
Right.
But it means to allow you, like, I kind of got into the whole Wayne Dyer thing. He had this talk on the Tao, and he talks about this. He said, you're being done. When you were in your mother's womb, you were being done. You have nothing to do with it.
Right.
So allow yourself to be done. And the Christians, what do we say? Thy will be done.
Yep.
Get out of the way. God's the creator. You are his child.
Right.
And he's helping to change you. As long as you let yourself get out of the way or turn your will and your life over. Because most in our world is let's get this, let's run away, let's not pay. I'm trying to see what book title is. I'm nosy. What's your reading? Oh, all right, good stuff. Enjoy.
What are they reading?
Jack Slater, Flashpoint.
Ooh.
I think it was. It's more like like a adventure kind of stuff.
Yeah. Hero kind of guy.
Yeah.
And heroes aren't bad, you know.
Yeah, I prefer mine with mayo.
I like a nice bolognese sauce.
What do they call where your neck of the woods? Do they call them heroes? Do they call them hoagies?
What do they call? Well, they call them a lot of different things, but heroes is kind of what they call them.
I think in Boston they call it a hoagie.
Yeah. There's other names. There's a couple of sandwich shops that are like KFC kind of things, and they have strange names for their sandwiches, and they have come into this neck of the woods. So people.
That sucks. The old mom and pop shops are going away.
Oh, they're all gone. They're toast. It's
still here in New York City. It's weird.
New York City is so big.
And the mom and pop bodegas and stuff are still thriving.
Oh yeah, because it's see, the real deal about New York. I kept saying this. The thing about New York and why I was and probably still will be, but I just haven't been there. New York always changes but stays the same, right? And no matter how much it changes, and I left in '88, didn't come back till 2011, and my buddy took me down to Soho. So he was like emptying his garbage. So he went offline. So, and we're about to go into the red zone here, and we have about 14%. And so I hope you enjoy that phone call. But yes, New York City is always changing, but stays the same. one last thing. That's a diametrically opposed motif. Let's see what Johnny Boy. I have about 10 minutes of battery, so let's give that boy a shot. Do, do, do.
Hello.
There he is. How you doing, kiddo?
Hi.
Happy. It is Palm Sunday.
Oh.
It used to be my
yes, Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday, the day Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, and everybody wanted to make him king,
Whoa.
right? And even the Pharisees and the high holies and the rabbis came and pat him on the back because they knew this boy was the poster boy. And so they said, okay, why don't we have lunch on Tuesday? And when he showed up, that's when he threw the money changers out of the temple. And once he did that, they all knew that, okay, this guy's going to be bad for business. So that's why they strung him up.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, no, it was in the Bible. It had to, everything.
Yeah, you're right.
What's truly amazing about Jesus, that 3-year period from him, because up until the time that he bumped into John the Baptist, no one knew who he was. Everyone knew who John the Baptist was, right? He had the big crowds. He was the big A-lister. He was the movie star. Everyone thought he was the Messiah. And he kind of was, because his parents were in their 90s when they were in their 90s. So
Jesus' parents?
no, John the Baptist.
Oh, John the Baptist. Thank goodness.
Yeah,
and
John.
A bunch about this.
Yeah,
you
man.
know a bunch about God and Jesus.
Yeah, I've been reading the Bible. I've been reading the Bible my whole life, and I've really been reading it the last 3 years because I got nothing else to do.
Okay.
I'm reading it, and it's great for writing.
Wow.
Man, you couldn't find a better place to get characters and situations you want to write about. The Bible is.
I'm not recording the phone.
Okay, that's okay. I mean, I wouldn't guess anything other because everything you ever did with me, you videotaped and did stuff with, so it's not a big deal. As long as you don't, the only thing I wouldn't want, John, is if you took my voice and features and put it in AI and then had AI say and do things that I would never say and do. I wouldn't like that. Otherwise, it's like expecting something.
Oh, they already do it now. I guess.
Yeah, I know they already do it now, John, and it's really ubiquitous. It's not expensive. It's not in. I mean, you did it when
I
you.
can do it now.
I mean, when you did that image of yourself as an Arab, that was what that was, right? They took you and you put another face on top of it, and that was you. And that's all good. I mean, that's what movies are these days. So that's what you do. And I really liked your Three Amigos video. That was kind of fun.
Thanks.
Yes. I mean, you know what I liked about that? It was sometimes you do the same thing over, like lifting weights and all that, that's cool. But when you do the other thing, it's like something fresh. You know what I mean? Like real, new
That's
kind
some more stuff that I like to do.
Right. And that had it because you never did that in the thing for that. I mean, you have that Mexican character, but to do that with it was something that had a specialness. The other ones, they're okay. It shows that you can do this, that, and the other thing, but they don't capture that special thing. And that one did. And that one did. So, when you had Ayla running around with, glasses on and running around, that was somewhere in between because it's something you do all the time, but it had that kind of sweetness about it that was interesting. But the Three Amigos, I think you hit it out of the park.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's for like people who are single and they understand that they're like what it is to be like alone or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I don't know. But I think somebody else, I don't know.
Well, then you need to go be with them, John. You need to go with them. Just go there, buddy. Just go there.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so I go to church every Sunday, but this Sunday it was ridiculously cold and my bed was nice and warm, so I didn't, and the sun doesn't hit my little holler until around 10 a.m. And for me to get to church, I got to be out on the road at 9 to get there. And so when I woke up and looked at the clock and it was 10, I said, nah. So I kind of walked up on my hill where the sun was hitting, and I just sat there in the sun, and it was so nice, and I could feel God through the sun hitting me. And it was, God was saying, no, don't worry about church. It's, it's same as it ever was. It's no big deal. That you're here with me now, that's great. So it was great.
Okay.
So I went back and I read my Bible, and I read Luke. Right now, Luke is
good.
right now, the Easter weeks.
Yeah.
Luke is the thing to read because he talked about Jesus in the 2-week period. The week before going into Jerusalem, and then the week of after Jerusalem, and then Good Friday, and then the Rising. So Luke is the go-to guy for Easter. So
How long? Luke?
yeah, Luke.
Okay, I'll try to read.
Yeah, Luke is only about 40 pages, and it's everything about Jesus of the 3 weeks, the week and a half, or the 2 weeks before he gets killed, and that week of from Palm Sunday till Easter Sunday. So that
Did he live in suffering, or did he have an okay life until the last 3 weeks or something?
Who, Jesus? Who are you talking about? Suffering?
Jesus. Did he?
Oh no!
suffer
No! Jesus.
Did they start like he started to hide out?
No. He never hid from anybody, and that's why when he came into Jerusalem, everyone knew him. I mean, Luke 6, talks about not it's the day of the loaves and the fishes. I mean, all these people come to see him, and he's basically on top of a hill, and a whole valley of people, like 1 million or 2. No public address system, no nothing, right? And he's talking to them like I'm talking to you, and everyone can hear him in their head, in their own language, right? So that right there is a pretty amazing miracle. And then everyone who came to, because they heard about how he could heal, everyone who had something wrong, they were healed. And he didn't even touch them, didn't go and didn't do anything like John the Baptist used to have to do. And then he fed everybody. And he only had like 2 loaves of bread and 3 fish. And he fed like 1 million people and had enough that they all could take it home with them, right? So no, he didn't hide from anybody. Those 3 years, he was, he traveled everywhere, talked to everyone, and he went to every corner of the known world. Meaning, it wasn't just Jerusalem. It wasn't just.
He did?
Yeah, he went to every corner. Luke 6. Oh, if you read Luke 6 from 1 to 22, it really describes that.
Hey, good thing we have the videos that we do. We can get the videos to every corner of the known world.
Well, they are. I mean, whatever you put up on the World Wide Web, it's going out to every corner of the World Wide Web.
Well, there are some places that
if they have if they have the internet, they have the ability to see my
but
videos.
They may have no internet or videos, and it may be like it was 2,000 years ago in some places on the earth.
Well, they're very few and far between. I mean, you're right. There are. I mean, like where I'm at, it's
like the Aborigines or whatever.
I bet you they have the. I bet you they have the internet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because Elon Musk's, Starlink. No longer do you need a wire. No longer do you need a Wi-Fi. No longer do you need a cell tower. Elon Musk's, he's got 50,000 satellites over every square inch of the earth. And if you have, Skylink, no matter where you are, you have the internet. So It's pretty much everywhere. But you're right. But and you know, it's a almost irrelevant kind of thing because I don't even think about that. I just think about you know, why I've kind of like totally slimmed down on everything in my life, right? What I eat, what I do, how much money I have. I don't have a car. I don't have anything, right? And it's actually made my life better,
Okay.
you know. So and John is, you know, John's the guy who talks about how it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than for a you know, a camel to go through the eye of a needle, you know.
Okay.
And there were all these cultures, the Egyptian culture,
Yeah.
the Roman culture, they all worshipped.
The little Jewish.
They all worshipped stuff. You know, the Egyptians and the Romans,
Oh, no.
they had all in
I'm a
their
little Jew.
cemeteries. They put the stuff in the ground with them. Anyway, so
I'm not.
well, we're all Jewish, John. We're all Jewish.
No,
Okay,
we're not.
kids. See you. I'll
I
talk to you
messed up.
later.
We're not Jewish. I messed up. I thought we were. But